Jesus lovingly declared that blindness of the man in John 9 was not due to any sin or lack of faith. Instead, it was intended by God to show His glory. Jesus didn't simply make the man well. Jesus offered man the opportunity to see and know Jesus for who He really is, the Son of God. A real relationship with Jesus is the amazing gift offered to all people, regardless of our abilities or disabilities.
The outline for the book of John. Chapters 1 through 12, Jesus, God's Son's healing and teaching ministry. Chapters 13 through 21, Jesus, God's Son's death and resurrection.
Ever blindfolded yourself to play a game or to do a task? Like maybe you've even closed your eyes and tried to build a tower out of Legos, or maybe you've tried to pour a pitcher of water into a cup, with your eyes closed, like knowing, how do you know it's full? What do? Do you use your other senses to kind of fill in the gaps? Well, in our story today, the man that we're talking about was blind since the day he was born, and we're going to read about him, or you can read about him in John 9. So let's see what happened to him. In Bible times, if you had a disability, let's say you couldn't hear, maybe you couldn't speak, maybe you're missing a limb, maybe you couldn't see, in this case it was a man, you could not earn money for food. And so what you were kind of stuck doing was sitting by the side of the road and begging. And sometimes people would give you crusts of bread, and others gave a few small coins. And we see that today even. We see people on the side of the road begging for money, begging for food, begging for help. And how do we help them? Well, this situation, a man was blind, and he had heard some people walking by, and "Teacher," a voice asked, "why is that man blind? Did he do something wrong, or did his parents do something wrong?" That man is talking about me, the blind man must have thought. I wonder who this teacher is, and I wonder how this teacher will answer. But Jesus said that's not why the man is blind. This happened to show who God is and what He does. The blind man could tell Jesus was standing right in front of him. It sounded like Jesus spit on the ground. Suddenly, the blind man felt Jesus gently dab damp mud on his eyes. And then Jesus spoke to the man for the first time. "Go wash off the mud in the pool of Siloam." The blind man got up and made his way to the pool, and he splashed the cool water on his face, and then he raised his head. Suddenly, something happened. "I can see!" the man must have shouted, and he ran to tell his family and friends about how Jesus made his eyes well. But not everyone believed the man when he told his story. Not interesting. The people were amazed. Wow! They took the man who had been blind to the religious leaders. "Tell us why you are now able to see," the Pharisees demanded. And once again, the man told his story. "Jesus put mud on my eyes. I washed in the pool of Siloam, and now I can see." What an argument started. Jesus is a sinner. One leader said, "He healed this man on the Sabbath. That's against the rules." "What about you?" they asked the man who had been blind. "Who do you think he is?" "Well, he must be a prophet," the man said. The Pharisees certainly didn't like that man's answer, so they tried a new argument. He must not have really been born blind. They even asked his parents about it, but his parents just told the Pharisees that their son was old enough to answer for himself. "All I know is that I was blind, but now I see," the man repeated. But the Pharisees were not satisfied. They wanted the man to explain what happened again. "I've told you over and over," the man answered. "Why do you want to hear it again? Do you want to follow him too?" Now the Pharisees were furious. "We don't want to follow this Jesus. We don't even know where he comes from." Well, listen as I read what the man told them in John 9:30 through 33. "Why, that's very strange," the man replied. "He healed my eyes, and yet you don't know anything about him." Well, God doesn't listen to sinners, but he is ready to hear those who worship him and do his will. Never since the world began has anyone been able to open the eyes of someone born blind. If this man were not from God, he couldn't do it. Well, that was the last straw. The Pharisees became so angry that they threw him out of the synagogue. Now, the synagogue is kind of like a church, so they basically threw him out of a church, which meant he wouldn't be allowed to worship there anymore. When Jesus heard about what happened, he found the man. "Do you believe in the Son of Man?" Jesus asked him. Just so you know, the Son of Man is a name for Jesus. The name means that Jesus is a real man and that he is the one who God promised to send in the Old Testament. "If you tell me who he is, I will believe," the man answered. "You have seen him. In fact, you are talking to him right now," Jesus said. The man who was once blind called out, "I believe in you," and he worshiped Jesus, the Son of God, who had loved and cared for him. When we follow Jesus' example for caring for people like the man who was blind, we are showing God's love to them. Because Jesus cares for each person, he wants us to take care of them too. A person who uses a walking stick that is red and white usually is a person who can't see well or is blind. The walking stick helps the person move safely without getting hurt. And it helps us to know to not bump into the person or get in his or her way. It can remind us too to watch for ways to care for and help others. Sometimes it may be difficult to know how to be a good friend and how to encourage someone who can't see, hear, or walk, or has other disabilities. But as we care for and pray for friends with disabilities, God will help us to show how to show his love to them. In order to follow Christ, we need to use our words and actions to encourage others who need our help.
First Thessalonians 5:11. Encourage one another and build each other up. 1 Thessalonians 5:11.